Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to New Covenant Community Connect Live. We are back with another extraordinary show today, and I'm so excited about today's episode. We have
Yeah.
been covering so many different topics from gardening to music to autism awareness to book writing to DNA testing. And today we're going even further into more of what interests us. We are still in a sports cycle. And so while we're getting ready for the NBA finals and we just finished so many other different playoffs, we're excited to have Nathaniel Malone here, who is an aspiring sports writer. And so we're going to enjoy this conversation with Nathaniel and dig deep into what it means to get into sports writing, to get deep into knowing more about sports and all that stuff that some of you all know about, or if you're like me, don't have a clue about and would love to know more about. So let's get into this show. My co-host today is one of the most special people to me in the world. It is my dad, Bishop Dwight Elijah, who was also Nathaniel's grandfather and Nathaniel is my son. So today is a family affair. So that makes today even more special. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna first throw it over to Bishop. Dad, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fabulous. It's a great day to
Wonderful.
be alive. Praise God.
Praise God. Was looking good over there in Florida,
Mm.
South Carolina.
Yes.
Amen. We are, Bishop is in South Carolina. Nathaniel is in our hometown of Muskegon, Michigan, where we're all from. And I am here in the Rocky Mountains of Greeley, Colorado. So we're covering all of the coast today. And how exciting is that?
Wow.
Nathaniel, welcome to our show.
I'm happy to be here.
Wonderful. Nathaniel, let's start with just getting to know you and tell us a little bit about you and what got you even interested in sports writing.
Um, well, I'm 24 right now. I probably started writing in general when I was in high school. That's when I first started my first manuscript. And it was really just for fun, but I had always known I could write because I don't know. Anytime I had an essay or something, it just was something I excelled in. And once I published my first book, I didn't start sports writing until after that. But once I published my first book, I'd always liked watching sports. So then it just seemed like the next step was to find some way to make a career out of what I like to do. And so I went to go find people that were hiring. I ended up working for two separate companies.
Mhm.
One of them a little bit more on the lower end, one of them a little more well known, but I was doing NBA sports writing since I was about 20, 21. And it's been a fun experience because instead of just watching the game from a fan's lens, you end up watching it from kind of a work lens. And now you're kind of evaluating like, okay, what am I going to write about once the game is over? It's hard though because I did NBA writing and there's so many games. So you have to write after every game, and they usually do back to backs. It's not like NFL where it's 17, it really used to be 16, I think, but 17, 18, get in and get out. It's much harder with the NBA, but it's fun too because it keeps you busy, gives you something to do. And that's pretty much how I got into sports writing now.
Awesome. So tell us, what is your favorite sport in general, and what is your favorite sport to write about?
Um, my favorite sport is probably football, just because I actually have a team that I like and a player I like. Basketball, I kind of just I'm like a nomad. I just go to whatever team is interesting that year. I don't really have anybody I root for. When you got a little bit of skin in the game, it's much more interesting. And so my favorite sport to write about. I've never actually written about football. It seems like it would be fun to do, but I've never done that before. So I'd probably have to say basketball just because I've written about basketball for 4 years, 5 years is just what I'm more comfortable doing.
Awesome. So who's your favorite football team?
Right now, it's the Ravens. It was the Broncos for a long time. I kind of still watch them. I don't. I root for them to do good, but they've broken my heart and traded away everyone that I loved. And now it's like a whole new team, and I really love Lamar Jackson, so I rock with the Ravens.
Wow. So once I move to Colorado, you leave Denver. That's cool though. That's all right.
I was there as long as I could. Once Peyton left, they was on thin ice. Then they got rid of Von Miller, and I was out.
Well, I can tell you that's a mutual consensus with most Coloradans here out here. And after last year, once Russell Wilson was gone, most people had a lot of very heartfelt sentiments. So I understand, and I know that they're in a rebuilding phase at this point. So when you're getting into,
Let me ask Nate one
sure,
more question about these
please.
Ravens, Nathaniel.
Yeah.
What do you think the Ravens' strength is? Is it offense or their defense?
It's got to be their offense because last 2 years they had the number one offense in the league
Uh
and
huh.
MVP candidate. And all their all pros. Well, actually, I say two of their all pros is offense, two is defense. So it's kind of up in the air. But their defense has a lot of turnover though. A lot of new rookies.
Uh huh.
Couple of injuries. Their safety is gone. They lost some people in free agency. Another guy retired. So it'd have to be their offense because they pretty much have the exact same team, and continuity is important. So
Right, right, right. I heard you speaking about Lamar Jackson. Do you think he's top five quarterback?
I think he's 1A. No, he's 1B, and Mahomes is 1A.
Oh, okay, okay.
Because
Now,
he's got more first team all pros than any of the other quarterbacks other than Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers is probably on his last year. He's got
uh-huh,
more than Mahomes too, and he's got more MVP. Actually, got the same amount of MVPs as Mahomes. They both have two. Uh,
right.
he's got the second best winning percentage of any quarterback in the league, and I think he's top 10 winning percentage all time with like 78% or something like that. Anytime he's healthy, they're 13 wins easy.
Hmm.
Um, Josh just got his first MVP. Joe Burrow doesn't have anything except I think he won a Heisman in college. Congratulations. I mean, so Lamar has been doing it. He just ain't won that ring yet. But once he get it, because Peyton Manning didn't win his first ring till he was like 30. Tom
Absolutely.
Elway was like 30 something. You know, I mean, everybody can't come in the league and beat Mahomes and win it all out the bat. Some people wait a minute, so he'll get it.
Okay, and let's stay with Lamar Jackson just for a
Sure.
couple more minutes. Why do you think Lamar Jackson was overlooked in the draft when he came out of college? Why do you think he fell to so low? That's one question. I have another question after that.
Well, I wasn't watching football as closely as I wish I had been at that time. But I have gone back and watched like his games in Louisville. I watched that first year. I watched the draft and how he was laying there on the table with his mom. I think he went overlooked just because of all the people who were evaluating him. All they saw was kind of how they saw Cam Newton, except Cam Newton was playing in the SEC. I think if Cam Newton had played in the ACC like Lamar did, he wouldn't have been number one because they said all he could do was run. They said
Hmm.
all Lamar could do was run, and even though he won a Heisman, he was, he was at Louisville, which isn't really, you know, like a top tier, like talented school where you're gonna get a superstar quarterback this day and age. So that's I think that's the main part of it. But the Ravens went back in the first round and got him
Right.
because they knew that he had something there. You know what I'm saying? I just really think that everybody was, they were trying to make him be a wide receiver. That's why he wouldn't run a 40-yard dash.
Hmm.
They I think that there was this stigma about running quarterbacks, specifically black running quarterbacks,
Hmm.
that you can't win with that style of play.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, it remains to be seen. I mean, I guess Jalen Hurts is kind of a running quarterback, but he's nowhere near as quick or elusive as Lamar is.
Absolutely,
So,
I agree.
and plus that team was crazy stacked. I mean, I don't think there's any way the Eagles couldn't have won last year. So I think that Lamar is going to have to break that mold because Mike Vick couldn't do it, Cam Newton couldn't do it, got this close, couldn't do it, RG3 couldn't do it. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of good. Kyler Murray, he's a good one. A lot of good mobile quarterbacks in the league now. Mahomes is technically mobile, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. One more question concerning Lamar Jackson. We both know that the hindsight is 2020,
Mhm.
and he's proven to be a top flight elite quarterback. So why do you think that so many people wanted Lamar Jackson to change positions?
Uh, well, he's got the perfect dimensions for a wide receiver. I think he's about 6'3", and when he coming out of high school, I mean not high school, college, he was maybe just north of 200 pounds, which is a little bit slight for a quarterback. I know some quarterbacks are around that height. I mean, around that weight, but that they like to be more Mahomes, like 6'4", 220. That's a good, that way you can take hits. Part of the knock on Bryce Young is he's only like 190 pounds. So
Yes.
when he gets hit, he feels every bit of it, and you're going to get hit.
Mm-hmm.
Jaden Daniels as well. He's very slight of frame. But I think Lamar, crazy part about it is, has changed that notion a little bit, though, because I don't hear anybody else saying any quarterbacks should switch positions. I haven't heard that since him. And there's been plenty of quarterbacks that probably could have.
Mm-hmm.
He's changed that narrative and flipped it on his head. But I mean, he probably would have been a good receiver. I'm sure he probably, every player has, if you're fast enough, I'm sure he played receiver or running back at some point in his, maybe when he was in middle school or something. But his best attribute, people always talk about his athleticism. I think he's incredibly smart. And you probably know more than I do that they just assumed that black people couldn't play the quarterback position because we weren't smart enough.
That's correct. But
They
that's
never, it was never anything about athleticism. I mean, there's only one white cornerback in the entire NFL.
mm,
It's not about speed. They know we're fast, but they didn't think we
mm.
could process information quick enough to be a quarterback. So
That's
that's
right.
just that's what it boils down to. I don't think they just didn't believe he was smart enough to play the position, which he has clearly proven wrong. You don't win two MVPs and go to the
Mm,
playoffs all those years if you're not a smart enough quarterback.
that's correct. That's why I say I agree with everything you had to say, Nathaniel. And Lamar Jackson is an elite
Oh yeah, he's elite.
quarterback and one of the best in the history of the game.
Yeah, I usually throw out his first 3 years. I know he won the MVP, but he won that MVP off of him, not off Greg Roman. I throw
Mm,
them first few years out because the offensive coordinator was just trying to run a specific style of offense where they just run the ball with Lamar and run the ball with Mark Ingram, run the ball with. They weren't trying to expand him until Todd Monken got there. And now all of a sudden he's having 4,000-yard passing seasons and becoming more the quarterback that he should have been in the beginning. And I just really think that they hindered him by trying to play into his strengths instead of trying to build on his weaknesses.
that's good. Good observation. Thank you, Nathaniel.
Yeah.
Leah?
All right. So in the chat, some of the members who are listening who are not as knowledgeable on football have asked, what is a cornerback, Nathaniel?
The quarterback is the player who throws the ball. Really, they hand it off too. They're the centerpiece of the offense. They nothing happens on offense without the quarterback.
Right.
They have to touch the ball and they have to distribute it to everyone else. Sort of like a point guard,
Yeah.
except in basketball, anybody can play, point technically point, you know. But a quarterback is the guy that you see on all the promos. If you see a player on the promos like holding the ball like this, that's the quarterback. He's the most important player on the team.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now, Nathaniel, you played football in high school. What positions did you play?
When I was a freshman, I played right guard because I was strong. Even though I was small, I was strong. And so my sophomore year, they moved me to defensive end, and I played all defense. And then my junior year, my senior year, I played defensive end and a little bit of one technique, which is kind of like deep tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, but my coach, he liked to put smaller guys at one technique so that we could line up against like bigger centers and guards who weren't as fast, and we could just knife through the inside. And then we had a bigger guy at our three technique. Three technique is also deep tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And then five technique is defensive end, and I played a little bit of that. And then I also played H back, which is essentially a new position they made a few years back, which is like a tight end and a fullback mixed together. And I played a little bit of that, but mainly I played defense until I kind of didn't really want to. I don't know. I played football, but I didn't do it because I love football. I played football because it was just fun, you know. I think a lot of people play it because they want to go to the next level and be the greatest and all that. I just like to have a little fun. It was just fun. So it wasn't about going on. You know, a guy came back from college one year and said, listen, if you don't love football, don't go play it in college because it's a different animal. Like they're waking up at 4 in the morning and running upstairs and doing all this crazy stuff. I'm like, I don't think I love it that much.
Wow. Well, I know some people who got to see you play, and as for someone who didn't love it, you were great at it. And so I think that says a lot. You were very skilled. And I think it was your senior year you played special teams, right?
I always played special teams.
Okay.
We didn't have like a 60, 70 man roster. We had about 35, 40 guys. So everyone had to play pretty much both ways, everything.
All right. So now for people who don't know, what does it mean to be on special teams?
That's just like so it's three phases of football: offense, defense, special teams. Special teams is punt, kickoff, and PAT or field goal, which is pretty much the same thing, just a little further back. But if you're playing on special teams, usually people say it's like supposed to be like embarrassing or something like that, but it's really not. Like special teams is very important. Usually we have the underclassmen play more of the special teams positions if we have a lot of guys but we didn't have a lot of guys, so everyone's playing special teams. And if you're really a dog, you can really get, you know, recruited if you're a really good kick returner or something like that. If you're a really good kick returner, you can go to college and play at a really nice school just returning kicks, you know. Or if you're a really good long snapper, if you're a really good punter, like they'll take you, you know. Special teams isn't just like an afterthought. It's actually a very important phase of the game.
Right, it is.
And if you can figure out how to get your special teams to be just as good as your offensive defense, because special teams, it may not always win you a game, but it'll definitely lose you one.
Oh, no doubt. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So Nathaniel, for our listeners who don't know, you are definitely a part of a sports legacy. And so just like you playing, your grandfather played. So Bishop, what position did you play? Now in the city of Muskegon, you are still a sports football celebrity. If I say I'm Dwight Elijah's daughter, they are going to tell me their story. So tell us what position you played.
I was a running primarily. I was a running back. I played some linebacker, but my position I was known for was running back, or at that time was called fullback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Somebody told me about you.
see, I told you they still talking.
Yeah, they told me they used to watch your games all the time at Heights.
Wow.
Awesome.
Amazing. Now, Nate, this is a thought of what, since we were talking about this, and you said your position was a defensive nose tackle, defensive guard, or defensive tackle.
Mm-hmm.
In your prime, Nathaniel, grandson, and my prime, we would have been going against each other. I mean, you would have had to tackle me if I ran a dive or a slant. Am I right about it?
Now, how big were you in high school?
I was about 200 pounds.
Okay, so we were about the same size. You know, the
Uh-huh.
problem with my coach. So in Muskegon, I don't know. You went to Muskegon Heights, so I guess we were the
Yeah.
competition. But in Muskegon, Coach Fairfield used to put people out of place. Our quarterbacks never go off to play quarterback in college. They always
Mhm.
go to play receiver or safety or something. Our running backs go off to play something else. Nobody plays the position they played for him. I was not a traditional defensive tackle. I was about
Mhm.
198 pounds,
Uh-huh.
was 5'9".
Okay.
Might truck me, but my best attribute was my speed against your guard. So
Uh-huh.
I was best when I was blitzing and I can get to the quarterback. Now,
Okay.
as far as run stopping, didn't do a lot of that. Didn't do a lot of that, but my primary goal, I went to every game because I'm a firm believer you can affect the play without making the play.
Mm.
So if I clog up the lane, you only got one lane to go through.
Right.
And now my linebacker is running free because if you know about offensive linemen. The offensive linemen are trying to double team to get to the linebacker, but they got to
Right.
beat me first. I ain't
Right.
moving. So now it's only one lane for you to go through. You go through that B gap. My linebacker, he recruited to Western Michigan. You know, he coming to get you. So
Uh-huh. My question is, so if you wouldn't have gotten me, like, my question is, do you think you could have got me by yourself?
I think so. I'm not going. I've never actually been knocked over by nobody when I was trying to tackle them, but at the same time. What were you about 6'2"? You still pretty tall, 6'2", 6'3". I've never tackled anybody as big as you. You know,
Uh-huh.
so the running backs we played against, they were about 6 foot, maybe 5'11", 5'10". They weren't super tall, super big
Mm.
guys. So I think I could have got you, but I don't think it's ideal for me to go high. I probably have to go low and take you out, grab your legs or something. You know, you taller than me,
Yes.
but I think I could have got you though. I definitely think I would have gave you if I didn't get you the first time, I would have at least tried again, you know, because you're gonna be playing the whole game just like I'm playing the whole game. So I would have finished.
Good at Nathaniel. I want you to know that's a good answer. I'm glad to hear you say no. You would have just ran me over and I couldn't handle it. Good answer. Even though I probably would have ran you over, but I'm glad. I'm just messing with you. I'm just messing with you. I know you was a good football player, Nathaniel. All right, Leah.
While we're talking about families and legacies of families that play football, Deion Sanders is a name that you can't escape right now in football, whether it's pro or college. And now he has his sons following his footsteps.
Hmm.
Nathaniel, how do you feel about his sons? Have you been watching his sons, and what is your perspective on them, especially with one son just now being drafted and one following?
Yeah, I've been watching. I'm a Colorado fan now.
Hmm.
Um, I've been following Dion. I like Dion when he was coaching for Jackson State. You know, I wanted them to because he was trying to get the NCAA to approve them to, usually FBS teams play FCS schools from time to time. He wanted to play Alabama. He thought he was good enough, and I thought he was good enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching his boys. The last 2 years was some great years to watch football. Every game nationally televised. It was fun. Um, I think that the problem though with Dion and his family, at least not my problem, but a lot of why they're so polarizing. Because it seems like this would be a story everyone likes, but they're
Mm-hmm.
polarizing because there are a lot of people who don't like them, which is why they're so popular. Because popular cuts both ways. Some people that hate you so much that they want to watch, and some people who love you so much they want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's because they're an extension of him in the sense of they are a little bit cocky and they are a little bit brash, but that's because Deion was cocky and brash, and that's
Right.
how they grew up.
Hmm.
They grew up. I mean, they were millionaires before they were even drafted into the NFL.
That's right.
They don't need that money. I mean, he his signing bonus was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was like 100,000. He's got like a Rolls Royce that cost a hundred
Right.
thousand in his. You know what I'm saying? And I think that rubbed people the wrong way, which is why he didn't go in the first round. I think people were put off by his. I hate using the word cocky, maybe arrogance, or they just wanted to be modest. People hate, for lack of a better term, uh, uh, a black person that they can't control. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
if you don't shuck and jive, or yes sir master, okay,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
don't like that. They don't like that because you seem too, I don't know, like he's just, I mean, I like it, hold up the wrist, and
I do too.
he's got the chain on during games, a big chain too, iced
Hmm.
out. Like, I don't care, I like it, I think it's fun. But
Hmm.
clearly the NFL teams think otherwise, and I do think that he's got a little growing up to do from time to time, because I've seen clips of where he'll, do some things that I'm not, if you're going to be an NFL quarterback, if you watch how Peyton Manning and Tom Brady conduct themselves, they do it a certain way, which I think that he didn't quite bestow, but
But
he
see,
was still
but the thing, let me jump in real quick. But the thing about it, Nathaniel, at 20, what is he? Like 20
yeah,
years old?
years old, yeah.
At 20 years old, we all had growing to do.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yes, every one of us here today, we
Right.
do things differently now that we did when we were 20.
You're right, yeah.
So I say give him the opportunity, like
Yeah.
everybody else, to
Yeah.
grow.
Yep.
Uh,
Absolutely.
yes.
I think though, because I think he's a great quarterback. He holds,
So
some
do
people don't
I.
even know this. He holds over 100 records in Colorado football.
Wow.
Over 100. He's only been there 2 years. He has the best passing percentage in Colorado football history, the most passing touchdowns in Colorado football history. Um,
Well, I guess, like I was saying, I believe that just like anyone else, Shadua deserves the opportunity to grow,
Mm.
to mature into the man we all know he's going to be. He's not finished growing.
Right.
Yes, but I believe people confuse arrogance with confidence. I don't call Shadua arrogant. I call Shadua confident. He
Right.
believes in himself. He believes in his talents. He believes in his ability. That's not arrogant.
Shador holds all those records at Colorado. He's a great quarterback, but he there's a story about Deion Sanders where, because he knew he was going in the top five.
Hmm.
So he was telling teams that I won't meet with you, or like he was kind of like being a little bit, not even gonna say rude, but he was like telling teams like I don't need to meet with you, I don't need to see you. Like, I know I'm going top five. Teams that were, picking 10th or 11th and 12th, like he wouldn't even look at them, And I think Shador was kind of going that same route, but the problem was he wasn't a surefire first round pick. We all assumed he was, but in those meeting rooms, he wasn't viewed as that by the NFL teams. So I think that he might have jeopardized his own draft stock by not being a little bit, I don't even want to say the word humble, because I think that he just needed to be a little bit more open to meeting with anybody and everybody, because it's still a job interview. You don't have the job until you have the job. I don't care if you think you I like to cook right now. I'm a chef. I don't care if I think I'm the best cook in the world. I'm not gonna tell anybody, oh nah, I'm good. I don't want to meet with you when I don't have a job yet. I'm not even in the door yet. So I'm gonna meet with anybody and everybody until I'm to the point where, I just think that there was a lot of things he could have done better. They've leaked stories now that his Giants interview was really bad, but I don't know what's all
Well,
true. What's
how
just
about
hearsay.
this? Something to think about, Nathaniel. When Eli Manning came out of college,
Mm-hmm.
his father and even Eli said they're not playing for the Chargers.
Right.
Don't draft it.
Right. John Elway did that too.
John Elway said he wouldn't. I think with the Colts, he wasn't playing for the Colts.
But John Elway had baseball to fall back on. He was like, "I'll just go play baseball. I'm not playing against
Right.
the coach."
Now, the point I want to make is
Yeah.
they wasn't called arrogant and cocky.
Right.
No.
See, they were called confident, shrewd business people.
But in this era, everything is so scrutinized because we have social media. Anybody and everybody has an opinion. You just go on your phone and you just write whatever you want. So, and I think I always say this is the hardest time in history to play professional sports because I mean, if you miss a shot, I mean, a lot of what Jordan did is lost in the fabric of time because it wasn't Twitter and all this stuff. So I'm sure he had bad games, but nobody talks about it because it's in the air. LeBron has a bad game. You hear about it all day on the sports shows. Then you see it all day on Twitter. Then you see it
Hmm.
all the memes and you see it on YouTube. So I just think that everything that happened with Shador is because of the social media coverage, which can be good. The social media coverage has turned him into a superstar, but it's also turned him into, I'd say, maybe one of the most polarizing players I've ever seen. Like the people that hate him. They want him gone. The people that love him, love him. They don't even know him, they love him. So I just think that, I mean, I don't know what Eli Manning's draft stock was. I don't think Eli Manning's that good of a quarterback. But you look at who his daddy is and who his
Hmm.
brother is,
Right.
it kind of speaks for itself. Uh, I think that if Shador had been in the SEC and did what he did, kind of like how Eli was at Ole Miss, you know what I'm saying? Like if he had
Hmm.
been in the SEC, I think that he's for sure top 10 quarterback. But once you seen Tyler Shock go before him and Jalen
Right.
Monroe, you knew it wasn't about football anymore. It was
Absolutely, I
because
agree.
something that he did rubbed people the wrong way. It wasn't about
Hmm.
football anymore. It was
Hmm.
now about, okay, we don't like this guy as
Right.
a person. And so many people don't realize the quarterback. I love the way Jalen Hurts handles himself at the podium. I think he's the best quarterback I've ever seen at the podium. He sits up straight. He's got it. He's like, because his father has been a coach and he's been coaching him his whole life. And he told him, hey, look, this is how you need to do this. Not any fault of Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders, a lot of people didn't really like him. He was a great player, but a lot of people didn't really like him because they thought he was just too over the top and too flashy. And I think that he instilled that in Shador, which isn't a bad thing, but I don't think that's what you need to be as a quarterback is over the top and flashy. I don't know any over the top and flashy quarterbacks. I don't know a single one. And I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not saying for better or for, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that he is who he is, but I can't name one quarterback that is as I don't know. He acts more cornerback, more receiver like. Is his mentality, and I think that
What do,
he
what do you
just.
what do you think about Baker Mayfield? Do you think he's fit that category?
I think Baker Mayfield got humbled 4 times. He got cut, released, traded, ridiculed.
Right, I agree with you there. I'm saying, far as him coming into the league with
Oh,
confidence, how
but
he how
like
brash he was, and all of that. I think he fit that mold.
but it's the SEC. It's the SEC kind of stigma. Like if you're an SEC quarterback, you're viewed as a better prospect. I don't think that. I don't think that. Baker Mayfield was trying to think who else was in his draft class. Because I know he went number one, but I don't think he's really all that better than Shador at this point. I know he's got a stronger arm, and so they say, but it's just that SEC, like Johnny Manziel was over the top and partied all the
Oh
time.
my goodness, yes he
But
was.
but it's that Texas A&M, you know what I'm saying? Like when you go to and actually Baker Mayfield went to Oklahoma, so that's the Big 12, but I think they were in the bed with the SEC. Like, we knew they were leaving. And so, plus, people don't want to talk about it. He's black. You know what I'm saying? And they be like, well, Cam Ward was black. And I say, but for lack of a better term, Cam Ward was a houseboy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a good boy. Like, he does he doesn't rub people the wrong way. And what I mean by rub people the wrong way is he doesn't have his own social media team that follows him around. He doesn't have his own YouTube channel. I think that's unheard of, and I think people don't like that. But I mean, Pete, do what you want to do. But he doesn't have. Something else I heard. People were afraid that Deion Sanders would take their job.
Right.
They were afraid that if they didn't do a good job with his son, that he would be the next head coach. I don't know. There was so many things. So my girl was trying to ask me, she's like, well, maybe just one. I'm like, it can be multiple things as to why he fell. If I get fired from my job, the main reason could be because I was tardy, but it could be a million reasons why I got fired. They just compounded on it. I think it's a bunch of things working together as to why he fell so low in the draft. And none of maybe a few of them might have been football related. I do think that people were upset that he took a lot of sacks, and all sacks aren't on the offensive line. Some of them are on. I think that, me personally, he cared more about his completion percentage than he did making the right play at times. I really do. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I do think that at times he didn't want to throw a pass and get it dropped or intercepted or incomplete. He would just run around until he find an open receiver, when it's like, man, you just got to take the change, man. Just throw it down and figure something out. And he's not incredibly fast. And I think people are used to seeing black quarterbacks like, he's not athletic. So he's not athletic. What is so it's like, so it's so many things that could have played a part in it, and so and plus there were only about 4 or 5, 6 teams that needed a quarterback. So it's not like you got the pick of the litter. Once the Giants don't want you, and the Titans aren't taking you, they're taking Cam Ward, and then once the Steelers don't want you, you're running out of teams. And the Saints weren't sure what they were going to do with Derek Carr. I bet you if they knew Derek Carr was going to retire, they would have did a redo. So it's just a lot of things they could have went into that.
Right. All right, Leah.
I'm just enjoying it. I always love being able to hear Daddy talk about football. So I am enjoying the conversation, but I'm listening, thinking, and I kind of want to pivot back to a point. I believe that for this conversation, if you all will permit me just to say Daddy and not Bishop, we all understand who that is, right? But the difference in one player being called confident and another being called arrogant. And I think the point is that we have to be honest, and that we're looking at a racial situation. And so I agree with Nathaniel with social media, but I think that and I think of the difference in generations between Daddy's generation, mine, and Nathaniel's, and I feel like I'm kind of like in the middle and seeing different things. And I watched the draft. I followed it. My husband is a writer, and he'll be joining soon, a journalist. And I mean, my husband's heart broke as it was going on, because he just kept saying, "This is so personal." And just following Shedeur over his career, and just hearing that, and even hearing that about Coach Prime, because we're here in Colorado, right? And it's that constant, he's so arrogant, and I can say, I just feel like this conversation should be so vulnerable, right? Being raised by a very confident man. My father's extremely confident, but it would be easy to say that's arrogance. But it wouldn't be if he was somebody else. And so I think I just see it that way, the way he's saying it, right? And so my dad has always been, I'm going to dress this way, live this way. I was just telling my husband last night, my sisters and I were raised, my husband was watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, and we grew up watching that. My dad would sit me and my sisters down and say, "This is what I want to put before you." And it was, it's okay to eat the best, drive the best, live the best, best. As Black people, Black women, Um, but there's an ideology that would be like, well, you shouldn't say that, or that, I was telling my husband, we would say that belongs to the celebrities or those people. It belongs to whoever it belongs to and whoever desires it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that when you look at someone like a Deion Sanders, uh, before Christ, we'll say one thing, but he's a believer now. But he just believes in himself, and he has a right to, and he has a right to put that into his sons because they worked hard for it. Yeah, they've come into a legacy and to a bloodline, but everything wasn't handed to them. They worked for it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's what's unfortunate when you look at like the Mannings and certain other players. It's just not even perceived the same. People know what they're looking at. It's being presented differently.
Right.
And that,
Well, and also I think it had. I agree with you when you brought this point up earlier when you were talking about generations.
right,
And my generation, when we played, our coaches taught us from the very beginning to look these people in the face and let them know who you are.
wow,
And but you hear a lot of people saying to players now, just keep your head down
right,
and play.
I think a lot.
Why do they have to keep their head down and play?
right,
I think a lot of it comes back to though, because I do agree it's racial, at least racially undertone. I don't, but I think that it comes back to the position though. If you're a cocky receiver, I don't think anybody cares. In fact, I think they love it. I mean, every receiver that's worth his weight is a little bit over the top. I mean, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase. If you're a cocky cornerback, if you're a linebacker and you're crazy, you're cocky, you're arrogant. Like if you're a running back, I just think that at the quarterback, because the coach, the owner, and the GM all have to be in constant conversation with the quarterback because those are the four most important pieces. If you get the coach, the quarterback, the GM, and the owner right, you'll have a great team. Look at the Chiefs. They got Mahomes, Brett Beach, Andy Reid, and the Hunts. They got they got the quadruple. So they got when you get those four right, you have a great team. I think that the quarterback, for better or for worse, if you don't fit the mold that they want, they aren't going to draft you. Versus a running back that acts the same way, they might be like, whatever, it's a running back. He's a receiver, and I do think it has something to do with race as well because, like you said, Baker Mayfield was arrogant and cocky, and how he acted. I mean, we all know about when he grabbed the flag and planted it during the rivalry game and did all the stuff that he did in college. But I do also think that I don't like to talk down on Shador because I do think that he's a great player. But I do think that there were times where he didn't showcase. I don't want to say like the BYU game. I think was the very last time we saw him, and he didn't play very well, and it stuck in our faces for all that time. Then he didn't go to the Senior Bowl. Then he didn't go to the Combine. He didn't do certain things he should have done to help his own case, which I'm not defending them for not drafting him. I just think that there were a lot of things he could have done to help himself out, especially as a black man. We hear it all the time. We got to work 110% harder than a white person, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So you can't undersell yourself. I just think that, because you got these white owners, white GMs, and white coaches who need to like you. Whether or not think it's right, I've worked at places where I got fired one time because I was rude, which, I don't know if I was rude or not, but I'm black. So I might just come off as rude. So
mhm,
it's just, you got to play the part. My dad always said, play the game. Like, play the game. It doesn't have to be right. Just play the game. If the white people want you to smile, then smile. Which I don't think is always right, but I think there's truth behind it because this is their league. All the owners are white. I can't name one black owner. All the GMs, most of them at least, are white. The coaches are white. You have to play their game, and so I just think that it is racially motivated because they didn't want Shador to come in here and acting how he's acting. But I do think that if I mean, if he plays well this year, this is all forgotten.
Well, let me interject this, Nathaniel. I understand what you're saying, and I understand about playing their game.
right,
When it comes to me taking down from who I am,
right,
I can't do that. I,
right,
I will not do that.
right.
I don't think an individual should do that to please someone else.
No, they shouldn't. But
Now,
you're.
this point I want to make with that. Now, when I was playing football,
Mm,
I was the captain on the defense.
yeah.
Now, so that means in the huddle, I call the plays. I can't tell you what some of the things that went on in our huddles. All right, where our players we had a lot of alpha males on our defense, a lot of them. So I was leading alpha males. You follow me?
Hmm.
And I had to calm some of them down, to the point where I would say, "Don't do that. You causing us penalties."
Hmm.
And they would say, "You can't tell me what to do." This happened in the huddle.
Mm.
You can't tell me what to do. I said, "I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm going somewhere with this. But you're causing us 15 yards for no
Right,
reason."
right.
Now, after I got all that settled down, I wasn't trying to get these guys not to be alpha males, just be smart about it. Now, I never told probably a handful of people this story. The referee, we were playing, actually, I know you're a big red, Nate.
Hmm.
We were playing the big reds.
Mhm.
The referee came into our defensive huddle. What is he doing in our huddle? Called some of us by our names. He called us dirty players. You
Wow.
don't play right. I don't like the way you all play. You're too aggressive. So how do you think he called that game after that?
He was calling a lot of penalties.
Yes. So do you think we should keep smiling and play their game? No. We're gonna play football.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. I don't think that he should castrate himself to please the masses. I don't want him to be anyone that's not. But I do applaud a lot. Like right now in OTAs, he doesn't have the camera crew. He doesn't have Bucky out there. His daddy isn't on the sidelines. ESPN isn't there. I do applaud that he's not, posting every 2 minutes legendary and I mean, I'm not saying that that was bad, but I just think right now it should be about football. I think that Shador became when he was at Jackson State. I didn't even really know who he was for real. He was a 3-star athlete coming out of high school. He had some offers from some nice schools, but he became a celebrity overnight in Colorado. They love him out there. He became a
Hmm.
celebrity, and when you're 20 years old, I'm sure that probably went to his head. He had the highest NIL evaluation of any player. He had like $8 million or $9 million in NIL evaluation. So he became a celebrity. And I don't want to say it got to his head, but I do think that he got a bit above over his skis because no matter who you are, I mean, you have to realize this is a job interview. You know, you're presenting yourself with, so like any other level of football, high school, the coaches come to you. They want you. I want you on my team. College, they recruit you. They come to your house and sit down, have dinner with you. They want you. I want you. Come play, please.
Hmm.
NFL, you are going to them. You want a job. They don't need you. Now, I'm not saying he's not a good player, but like Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter was going to get drafted whether he came to the event, whether he went to the combine. He was going to get drafted. Travis Hunter, these are generational players. And I just think that if Shador, like they were saying he doesn't have a strong arm. They were saying he isn't that mobile. They were saying he isn't quite as accurate on deep throws. They were saying all this stuff about him. which I think that somebody always said if the production doesn't match the problem, then uh, so the production has to match the problem. And I'm not saying he's a problem, but like you see this all the time with players that are they go to nightclubs and stuff like that, and they become nuisances throughout the league. But they rush for 1,500 yards or whatever, so they're talented players. So you deal with it. But I think Shador and a lot of these NFL owners' minds, his production didn't match what would come with him, and so I just think that's what it boils down to. On his face, at least, you know. And plus, I knew the Giants weren't going to draft him. The Giants have never drafted a black quarterback. They haven't hired a black coach. I knew they weren't going to draft him. In the Giants one of the oldest teams in the NFL. They've never drafted a black quarterback. They've had a black quarterback, threw him to the wolves, but they've never drafted a black quarterback. When you draft someone, a first round pick is the most invaluable thing in the NFL. It's so valuable that even good players don't go for first round picks sometimes. You might get a second. Right now, if you trade a really good player, you might get a second. First round picks don't just grow on trees, you know. You pay a player $50 million and like most of it's guaranteed, and it's for 5 years. Like it's a very valuable pick. So if you're going to get drafted in the first round, the team has to love you. And I just think that Shador wasn't loved by any of the teams that wanted him or they needed a quarterback, which isn't always. I thought he would go to a better team. I wanted him to drop like Lamar did and go to a really good team. Lamar went to the Ravens. That was the best thing that could have happened to him. I'm glad he didn't to whoever was drafting first. I'm glad he didn't go to them. You know, I just wish that. I mean, the only problem is Shador went all the way to the fifth, and he still went to the worst team in the NFL. Like if he had went to the Rams or something, we would have been happy. Like, okay, here we go. When Matt Stafford was going, he's got a good, you know. But whatever. I don't think he should be penalized because of his stature and his aura and his persona, but I just think that at the end of the day, like you're an independent man, Papa. Like you own your church, and you know you can be a pastor anywhere. You can have a church in the parking lot if you want to. Like, but so you don't need them. But he can't just start his own NFL, so he has to do what they want him to do at the end of the day, which is kind of like, you know.
Very good perception, grandson. Very good perception.
Wow. This has got
very
deep.
good. Proud of you, Nathaniel. All right, Leah.
I do believe that I was telling my husband, I do believe that this year will be how we really discover who Shador is. And once his first year in the NFL is who we'll really see. And I believe those who tried to sabotage his career, I believe some people are going to feel really bad. I believe he is going to show up and shine where he is. And I also with what Daddy said earlier, he's 20. He's gonna he needs mercy and grace to grow. The time to do it, and he's going to do it. I believe he's going to make not just his father proud, but a lot of people proud. And I believe in him. And you know, and he's got his brothers coming up behind him, and I think that's an amazing thing. But I my personal viewpoint is I think it is not wrong for his father to have paved any way or put inside of him whatever he put inside of him. And I was thinking, my husband and I was having a conversation of the viewpoint of people when you talk about like Deion or LeBron with his son, and you know the nepotism and all this. But then we talked about like the Mannings, and so you know people, you know, they just handed them this and he doesn't. Now I know Bronny's got some work to do. He's got some work to do. He'll get it done. But
he'll get it done.
He will get it done. But this was my point, and I want your opinion, Nathaniel. My point with even with this and Daddy, you know, when people were discussing this with the Jameses, you know, it was even to the point I wasn't in these rooms. Even if LeBron just said, I'm only staying if my son can play this, season or whatever, which is believed to what was said, people were so incensed by that. But my thing was, but if that was your son, that was, you had the opportunity, you mean to tell me you wouldn't do it? I just think it's such a hypocritical thing. And I think it's only happening because it's LeBron. You wouldn't have this conversation with another player. And LeBron has put in the work to have his son be with him. And, his son, to me, doesn't have to be awesome. He doesn't. And so sometimes, I don't like the word nepotism. I think it's just favor. It's a blessing. So I feel bad for Bronny and the attacks he's getting, because some of it is just not merited. It's the same thing we're saying with Shador. He's going to grow. I think to expect even his father's statistics coming in is just not fair. And so, he's just got some going to do. So I just wanted to kind of pivot to another father-son duo and just get you all's opinions, because that's someone that, they're not calling him cocky so much, but definitely unmerited. And I don't think that's.
Well, I think it's only nepotism isn't bad, I don't think. I think some people think that Bronny skipped the line. The big thing was, there was another player that could have got drafted, but it's like with the 55th pick, go back in history and look how many 55th picks even end up becoming NBA players. They end up getting cut, traded, sent somewhere else. They go play for the Shanghai Sharks,
right?
for the Taiwan Terrapins. And what do we talk? Like, I went. No, the crazy part about it is he. I don't think Bronny was the best prospect in college. I didn't really like Bronny. This isn't even about LeBron. I was watching Bronny when he was playing for Sierra King, and I didn't really like Bronny. I like Bryce more. Bryce, I think, is the better prospect, but that's Bron's other son. But I never really was a fan of Bronny, really, and it has nothing to do with LeBron. I just didn't see it. But either way it goes, that's neither here nor there. I think that nepotism, it's been happening forever. Jerry Jones' son works for him, and Bill Belichick's son worked for him.
Right.
How many head coaches' sons have also been? Nathaniel Hackett's dad was a coach, and like Luke Walton, I think it was his dad, Bill Walton. Like,
absolutely.
What do we? Nepotism is going around for forever. What's the point in me being in a position when I can't help my son be in a position? It's happened more than just in football and basketball. I mean, if I'm a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, I bet you they have a son or a daughter or somebody who is in the boardroom or something. I guarantee it. It's just, why would I not give my child an opportunity when I'm gonna go let them go work, fend for themselves and figure it out? Why would I not give them an opportunity and help them out? I just think that because I think part of it could be because they're black. We don't want to see black men helping out their sons. But I also think, like LeVar Ball, for example,
right?
He didn't do it right. He was going on a media tour saying that his sons were better than Jordan. Which you can believe that if you want to, but I do think he's an amazing father. He clearly loves his son. But LeBron did it right, in my opinion. I don't know why he got so much. I mean, he just, take a flyer, 55th pick, you take a flyer on a player you're not sure about that you just want to see. Go grab my son. Let's just see what happens, figure it out. And it was a beautiful moment. Deion didn't even really, I don't even know if that was real nepotism. Shador was a good quarterback. It's not like he just, like he was a zero star. He had offers from from some really big schools, if I'm not mistaken, Florida State, Georgia. Like, there's a couple schools that wanted Shador coming out of high school. So he was a really good quarterback, and that's
I honestly, I believe some of that is marketing.
Yeah.
Because when you go back to Muhammad Ali, that's what he said. Muhammad Ali said, when he would say, "I'm the greatest of all times," he said, "I didn't believe that. It's marketing."
Yeah.
He said, "I wanted to make people so angry that they come watch the fight and I'd get paid."
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, I mean Mark.
I mean, I'm not gonna say what he was saying because he said you got to hear what he was saying.
Right. Oh
Yeah,
no.
but he was saying he makes some people so angry
Yeah.
they come to see this black man get beat up. But he didn't use black man.
I mean, but popularity, like I said, can cut both ways. Some people hate Colorado so much that they watch, and some people hate Colorado. I mean, love Colorado so much that they watch. Same as Shador and Deion. They love them so much, and they hate them so much. Is why they get so much coverage because they're polarizing. You
Mm-hmm.
know, but I don't got no problem with nepotism. If I was in a position to help my son, I would do it. I don't care. Now, I'm not going to put him anywhere out of his depth if he's not if he's not talented enough. I don't want to say talented enough, but if he hasn't put in the work to be a CEO, I don't know if I would put him in that position, run my company into the ground, but I would work him up in the best way possible. Because why would I not help him become the best version of himself? You know, I don't know. I don't really think nepotism is an issue at all. I think people just don't like seeing people skip the
Well,
line.
myself personally, myself, Pastor Bernadette, Elder Leah, and her husband Michael, we went to a Colorado game one year.
Mm-hmm.
We watched you do a play up front and personal,
Right.
What game?
live. Oh, he was the real deal.
Yeah.
What game did y'all watch? Which one did they? Who did they play?
Colorado State.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
The big game.
Yes, yes. He was the real deal. I
Uh,
mean, he brought them back and won that game, and we saw it live.
Yep.
I said that is an amazing player.
yeah, he's great. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I want to interject when we talk about nepotism. Why I think the irony of it when you specifically talk about LeBron James and the Lakers is that the Lakers foundation from the 70s was Jerry Buss,
Mhm.
but the entire
Mhm.
Buss family ran the Lakers organization for years, for decades. So that's not even a fair thing to say because we wouldn't even have the Lakers the way we are without the business side of the Lakers being ran by him
Mhm.
and all of his children. Um,
Right,
to this day, the person running it is his daughter,
right.
Jeannie Buzz.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I just think that's why I said I don't necessarily like the word nepotism. I think it's just a negative thing that we use to put people down or say things shouldn't happen in families. Because you made a good point, Nathaniel. When you look at the Hiltons, the Waltons, that's all family, and we wouldn't have them without family. We wouldn't have these businesses or
Hmm.
these institutions without family. And even in our own family, just to be fair, there's so many doors open for me because of my last name, and I don't have a problem with that. And
Hmm.
for you and your brother and your sister as well. That's just the way that works.
Hmm.
And people of color should be proud of that and not hide that because it just is it is what it is. Um, so we've gone so many different directions that we didn't plan to go, and I'm for sure not done. I definitely want to kind of get back into the interest of why we're here today. Nathaniel, when you're getting into writing your articles and different things like that, how do you ensure that your articles are engaging for the reader?
Um. Well, your audience is going to be engaged because it's a specific audience that already likes the sport. So it's
Okay.
not like if I was writing like someone my book audience, I have to hope that people take to it and that they like, because I'm giving it to everyone and I just hope that people want it. Only people clicking on these articles are people who actually want to read about them anyway. So like that already is part of the issue is already dissipated right there because they're not going to click on an article if they don't like the. So like I've written for the Pistons, I've written for the Suns, I've written about the really mainly just the Phoenix Suns and Detroit Pistons, but then other teams too here and there. But like if they love the Pistons, oh okay, they'll click on that, and so that they're already engaged because anything I'm talking about the Pistons, they want to hear. Then the second part of it is I'm usually talking about something that happened in a game or something that happened with a player, and now they're curious because they want to know what's going on. Okay, what happened with the game? What happened with this or that? So it kind of sports writing is so much easier than creative writing because all of the aspects of what you want to write about are right there in the game. I'm
Okay.
right about fourth quarter, how he missed that shot, what he could have done better. All that. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you don't have to think too hard. The hardest part is when there's nothing going on, like during the off season, and you gotta be, like, okay, what are we gonna write about? Okay, let's write about the best 10 free agents that the Pistons could probably pick up this offseason. Let's talk about the draft. Let's talk about something like that. But it's so much easier because it's not necessarily I want to say I don't know if it's in the nonfiction genre. I guess it kind of is because it's real people.
Mhm.
But sometimes you can add your own little creativity to it. But it's way easier than just creative writing because creative writing, people have to like your ideas and your what comes from your brain. As far as like just sports writing, I'm really just putting what I saw on TV on in the computer and kind of just putting it in a way where it's legible, easy to read, and fun. Fun little, quick little article that you can get a little sound bite from. Okay, cool, and then move on. It's very easy to keep your readers engaged, honestly, unless you just unless you don't know what you're talking about. 'Cause the people that click on these articles, they'll go in the comments and say, "Hey, dude, what are you talking about? That's wrong. That's not what happened." They be knowing that stuff, so you got to be, your editor. You and your editor got to be like this and know what y'all are doing.
So it's clear that you have a knowledge of
That's,
sports, at least
yes.
football and basketball. But
Mhm.
what strategies do you use to stay current with sports news and updates and all that's going on?
Like just the same as everyone, X or Instagram or whatever, just whatever is popular, whatever's trending. If you just look up a player and see what's trending, look up a team and see what's trending. It's it, you don't want to plagiarize someone else's work,
Mhm.
but you can 100% go and see like, okay, this player is trending for getting in trouble with this, and then you take that and you go write your own article about it, and now I mean, it's just you don't even have to take a single word from what you read, but you just take the idea or the topic, like, okay, this player did this, or this coach is about to get fired. Let's talk about why or what they should, like you just take what's happening. I mean, it's real easy to stay current as long as you have a phone. I have the ESPN app and the X app and see what's going on with this team this day, and or I watch the games or go on YouTube. Like it's so many different avenues to stay up to date on what's going on. So or you can do the morning meetings or whatever. Like a lot of times they have them lined up in the spreadsheet. Like this is some of the topics we have, some of the things that's going on, and pick a topic and talk about it.
Mhm.
All right. So how much research, I guess you're answering that, but how much research that goes into your writing for each?
It's 99% research, honestly,
Okay.
because none of it really is coming from your own ideas. It's all coming from you look it up on Google. You're googling stuff all day. Okay, the stats of this game, and you're going on certain websites trying to figure out. Okay, um, I mean, depending on what you're writing about. I'm like I wrote an article about why Dwayne Casey. This was back when Dwayne Casey was still the coach of the Pistons. But or actually better yet, I wrote about Jeremy Grant because when he was about to get traded, we all knew he was going to get traded. We just didn't know what for, how soon, and so I wrote about why he probably shouldn't get traded because then we'd be losing a 20-point per game score. And then I just wrote about all the best games he's had. I wrote about some of the stats he had. I
Okay.
wrote about how the coach wanted to keep a veteran around. I just wrote about all that, and it's 99% research. Honestly, you're researching the whole time. Then you put a little bit of your own, because you got to bring up your own hook, and you put your own hook in there. You put your own conclusion in there, and then it's pretty much 99% research, I'd say.
Okay.
Wow. So
Now,
how,
now, Nathaniel,
Yeah.
we know that the New York Knicks just got eliminated from the playoffs.
Mhm.
Do you think that the New York Knicks should move on from Coach Thibodeau?
that's a good question.
Well, I don't think you should ever move on from anyone unless it moves the needle. So, like, if I just don't know for sure that getting another coach in there would 100% make a difference. It's almost like the whole Mike Tomlin thing. We should fire Tomlin, but it's like, okay, but does that make you a better team?
Hmm.
If the coach can clearly not coach, then you get rid of him because someone else needs to be there. But he's
Hmm.
gotten them to the playoffs these past 2 years, back to back 50-win seasons. I don't think that getting a new coach is going to be a dramatic difference. I think that the execution was lacking. I think that maybe they need a new assistant in there to
Hmm.
kind of, hey, look, we need to get these guys some rest. Maybe I don't know. I don't know exactly what all needs to happen to make the team better. I do think that they need to figure out what they're gonna do with Towns.
Yeah.
He can't defend to save his life. Is he worth a couple picks? Could they move him? I don't know. I mean, I just think that they went all in on this year. They traded all those picks to get Mikal Bridges. They just traded some more draft capital to get Karl Anthony Towns. They just paid Brunson. I don't know what they're going to do, and they want to avoid that second apron and avoid paying the luxury tax. I don't think getting rid of Coach Thibodeau is the answer. But then again, we see head coaches get fired all the time. Mike Malone, Mike Budenholzer, he just won a championship. What,
Right.
4 years ago? He got, you know,
Hmm.
the Pistons fired Monty Williams after his first year.
That's
I
correct.
I don't know. He could 100% get fired,
Mm.
especially with the Knicks owner. He's crazy. I don't know what they're gonna do.
All right. Another question for you, Nathaniel. Who do you think is going to win? We're down to two teams now. We're down to Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Who do you think are going to win the NBA championship this year?
I'd probably say the Thunder.
Okay.
I think the Thunder will probably win just because it seems like even though they had a little hiccup against the Nuggets, I think that to come right back and then get another 4-1 sweep and to kind of just cruise. I mean, I didn't cruise past the Nuggets, but they just kind of just been. They beat the Grizzlies down and they beat the Timberwolves down. Like it just seems like their year. I think there's obviously a opportunity where the Pacers beat them because the Pacers aren't a bad team,
Right.
but the Thunder got the MVP and the best defense in the league, and they had like the top 5 offensive rating and the most wins. It just seems like they're the best team, and so I, I'd have to see how game one goes. If they just destroy them, then I think it's probably over. I don't see the Pacers, sticking around. But if it's a tight game, maybe Pacers can take it. But I think the Thunder are best built for the championship. I mean, they have so much great defense. They have great length. They have great players everywhere. Shea is going to be doing his thing. Great shooters. They can shoot the three ball. It's going to be fun to watch, but I think the Thunder got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're both. Because I agree with that because they both are running teams.
They're both running teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, but you can count on Shea more than you can count on Tyrese. Tyrese has had, I think, 5 games with less than 10 points this playoffs. Shea
Mm.
hasn't had one. Like he's going to get he's going to get his points. Like Tyrese, hit or miss. He's not he's kind of like Magic. If you remember Magic,
Mm-hmm.
dominate a game, but only have about 10 or 11 points. But he'll be like facilitating and getting the ball to other players and assisting. Tyrese is a true point guard, but he can shoot better than Magic. So I don't know. But we need you in this day and age. You need your best player to drop 25 or 30 every game, or else you're probably going to lose. So I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
Awesome.